So, yeah, my name's Adam Gross. I know a lot of you. I've had the pleasure of getting to know Jackson over the last few years. Also his dad, Jim, and I've kind of seen the work that Jackson's been doing in the gospel, sort of from a distance a little bit, and then hearing that he was praying about going on staff, and then choosing to go on staff with New Life was just a big excitement for me personally, because New Life was the church that shared the gospel with me, mentored me, taught me how to share the gospel, how to lead small groups, all sorts of things that when Courtney and I moved here 8 years ago, I was able to get plugged right in and start leading small groups because I had gotten training. It's the only place I've ever been specifically trained to what does it look like to make disciples, to follow the Great Commission. And so I'm so thankful to New Life and the legacy that they have left through the people building into me, and so that's a reason why Courtney and I support several people from New Life above and beyond what we give to this church. And so I just wanted to give that intro. Come tell us more about what you're doing.
Thank you so much. So thank you, Adam, and thank you, Jim, and to the whole Men's Breakfast for letting me come out and be your guys' guest speaker for this month. It's a little surreal that I'm up here, as I've been in this room many, many times as a youth. I've been here at least for the past 6 years, and at Dexter for almost 10 now. This church has had a huge impact on me, so I'm really grateful to be back, to be able to do this. And so today I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about myself. I'm going to share a little bit about the ministry. I'm going to have one of my good friends come up and share a bit of her testimony and her experience with the church, and what God is leading her now. And so I'm just going to go ahead and get started here. So first and foremost, I'm trying to figure out a way that I can stand mostly out of the way. So this is EMU's campus. You can see this whole square here, EMU's campus in the middle of Ypsilanti. It's about 3/4 of a mile square. I don't know how many of you guys know the area. It's not like U of M. It's not spread out. It's all pretty tight in one location. You can see the student center here, and the rec here, and some of the dorms over here, more back here. And there's this triangle building over here on the far left side. And that's our church. That's where we have our Sunday services. It's a building called Cross and Lives. It's a Lutheran church, and we rent out their space on Sunday evenings, and we have services and dinners there. And then in the back left here, or I guess your left, sorry. In the back here, you can see these kind of white buildings before the river starts, and that's where I live. I've lived in an apartment there for 3 years. I'm like 2 minutes away from the student center. I'm just right across campus. And so my roommate Josh is here, and my girlfriend Sarah's here. She also lives in the same apartment complex, and we have a lot of other people from our church that live there because it's so close to campus and convenient and stuff. And so, so this is me. I'm going to share a little bit about my testimony, my story, and how the church here has impacted me. And so I got saved 6 years ago, the summer after my sophomore year of high school. I've been coming to Dexter United Methodist Church for, like I said, 10 years now, since 6th grade. That was the second time that my family moved to Michigan. But it wasn't until 6 years ago that the Lord entered my life and really began to work in my life and change it. I got saved in Memphis, Tennessee at Service Over Self. If you look up, you'll see a lot of the SOS flags. Over there in the middle, the 114 SOS flags. I got saved on one of the trips that our youth group here took down to Memphis. Before then, my family was was involved in the church off and on throughout many years. I've moved 8 times. My actual longest time I've lived anywhere is my 4 years at Eastern, at college. So I've moved about every 3 years my whole life, and so we've been involved in a number of churches off and on over the years. And by the time I was getting into high school, I went to 3 high schools. I went to Dexter, Brighton, and Pinckney High School, where I graduated from. And we were moving around a bunch, downsizing in the midst of that. And in the midst of all that craziness, church became less and less of a priority, especially for me. I was shifting high school, just trying to figure out what I was doing, who I was, and so church, Jesus, God, none of that really mattered to me. That was on the back burner. But one day at the end of my sophomore year of high school, my mom actually, who's also here, she picked me up from school, and we had to go run some errands. And while we were out, we stopped by the church here at Dexter. And while we were here, Jeremy, our youth pastor, caught me and invited me on the trip down to Memphis, Tennessee that they do every year. And as a 16-year-old, I wanted absolutely nothing to do with that trip. I was not interested. I didn't want to go do construction. I didn't want to go on this trip with a bunch of people I didn't know. I didn't want to spend a week with Jesus. That didn't seem important to me. That wasn't on my priority list. But my mother told me that I should go once, and that if I didn't like it, I didn't have to go back. And so I went with the intention of never going back. And so spent the week in Memphis of service over self. We did roofing. That's kind of how I got my introduction to construction work. We did roofing, and then we had worship and games in the evenings. And it was all right. It was hot. I sort of made some friends. It wasn't a super spectacular experience, as I was very introverted and not really wanting to get out of my shell. In the evenings during the worship times, we had a guest speaker, a local man from Memphis, came out. He was talking each night, and he was sharing the gospel throughout the week. The first night he talked about creation, the second night he talked about the fall, the third night he talked about afterwards, and the fourth night he talked about Jesus and his death and resurrection. And he kind of summarized the gospel by saying that if you accept Jesus before you die, you go to heaven. And as a 16-year-old, I was taken back by that a little bit. I went up to him after the talk, I posed a few questions, and I said, so you're telling me that I can do whatever I want, be a horrible person, and as long as I accept Jesus before I die, I'll go to heaven? And he said, yes. And I thought that was ridiculous. I was like, that is not the way the world works. That's not the way life works. How could that possibly be the case? And so I walked away that night rejecting the gospel as he presented it to me. But the last night, SOS comes around. We're back in that same room. We're doing worship. It's a crowded room. It's hot. There's fans blaring, and we're singing songs. And I, as a student, as a child especially, I did not like singing. I was not a singer. Didn't like dancing. I didn't like the children's programs or anything. So I kind of just stood there in this crowd of people, twiddling my thumbs and thinking to myself. And all of a sudden, this overwhelming experience of love and peace and joy just took over me and broke me down. And I started crying. And I was freaking out a bit. So I'm like, why am I crying? Especially in front of people I don't know or people I don't like. I'm like, this is not okay. This is not what should be happening right now. And once I kind of moved past that, I began to realize that was God revealing himself to me. And it was that moment that changed my life. I started really trying to love people and branch out of my comfort zone. I was a very hateful student. I didn't really like people. I didn't want to be around a bunch of people. I spent most of my time in my parents' basement playing video games, kind of doing my own thing. That really began to change my life after that moment. I also tried to start being grateful to God for the gifts and the blessings that he had given me, and it truly changed my perspective. Fast forward a couple of years, I was very involved in the youth group after that point, very involved in church, and I am graduating from Bement High School. I'm about to go off to college. I left high school with essentially no friends. I had a series of bad romantic relationships and bad friendships that all kind of came crumbling down around me. I had not yet learned what it meant to be a man of Christ and to lead as a man of Christ, and made a lot of mistakes. So I left high school with basically no friends, or no close friends at least. And then that summer, we also had a lot of family issues. Really hit our family, really impacted me. And I felt really alone, and I was really struggling. And so I felt alone a lot in my life. I've moved 8 times. It's hard to maintain friendships and relationships when you're moving every 3 years, but this was unlike anything I had experienced before. But the difference was this time I had Jesus. And Jesus made all the difference in that experience. And so I went into college with a couple of things in mind. I said, all right, God, if you're the only one that doesn't hurt me or let me down or betray me in some way, then you're the only one I can really rely on. and I told him that I was going to devote my life to him going to college. And so I went my freshman year, and my first goal was to get involved in a good church, specifically a good group of guys. And so I tried out a bunch of the Christian organizations. I did Crew and His House at InterVarsity, and I did New Life as well, which is the church that I'm going on staff with. And I got involved my freshman year. I ended up sticking with New Life. They had a very strong core group of men with a lot of opportunities for me to get discipled and poured into, which I really valued. So my freshman year, I ended up getting discipled by a guy named Michael Neff, who's actually been to the church before. Some of you may have met him. He really just challenged me in my faith, in reading the Bible, in prayer, in every aspect. He also helped me a lot through a lot of the family issues that were taking over. And so he was there for me. We spent time together every single week, and he poured into me. Like Adam mentioned, that one-on-one discipleship and being trained and raised to make disciples was so impactful for me. Keep going on. My sophomore year, I got apprenticed by John Allen, who many of you know as well. His son, this is my roommate who's here. He apprenticed me to start leading home groups and small groups. This following summer, I started leading in home groups and small groups, and then I also interned for the church this past year. So I raised a small sum of support, most of you know, to intern with the church for 20 hours a week during my senior year of college. So that leads me to where I am now, going on staff. So I'm super excited for that. I've always had a desire to go into ministry. I've always felt a calling towards ministry. The Lord's really impacted my life. From the very beginning, I was like, how could I not share this with the world? How can I not share about this love and this thing that changed my life? And I thought that looked differently over the years. I wanted to do youth ministry originally. And as Jim mentioned, I interned with the youth here at this church the summer after my sophomore year of high school. The same summer that I started leading home groups for New Life. And that summer was super formative for me. It really was when the Lord began to guide me. That summer, He really started shifting my heart from youth ministry to college ministry. And I loved youth ministry. I loved being there. I worked at SOS for a summer. I really enjoyed serving youth. But I began to realize that a lot of students are here because their parents told them to be. A lot of them aren't mature enough or ready to fully seek after the Lord and grow in their personal relationship with God. And college is really a place that makes or breaks faith. And college is really a place where that relationship with Jesus becomes extremely personal. And I wanted to be a part of that formation, that relationship. And so that kind of leads me to where I am now, going on staff. And so that's a bit about me. And now I'm going to share more about the ministry. And a little bit, there's some pictures here. So this is one of the summers at SOS. You can see the SOS 114 flag here, and actually I think that one might still be hanging. Might not. It was 2013. Was my first summer.
Some faces there. That looks like Peter Boychuk back there, maybe. Bill Hansen, his mustache.
Yep. And Greg Bosnick is over here on your left as well, and yeah. It was an awesome. Jillian was there. She worked there that summer, Jillian Hook. So SOS has meant a lot to me, and meant a lot to me over the years. I actually went 3 times as a youth. I worked there for a summer, and then when I interned for the church here, I went as an adult leader. So I got to go 5 times, all in different roles, which is really cool. My senior year, I got involved with the senior guys, the D group that was led by Matt Hook. Really awesome time. You can see Adam Sikorsky and Noah Malafont and Luke Bozik's usually in these. Noah and he are still around. They're helping to run the college group, actually, which is really awesome this past summer. Which Jim mentioned, really, really cool that college students can come back to a supportive home church like this outside of their college time. And then one of the really awesome things that I got to do is I got to go to Belize with our seniors as well. You can see me down there. I am leading dancing. I love dancing, and so I got to teach a lot of the Belizean kids. I think it was the Cupid Shuffle, among other dances. It was blessed. Dexter had a huge impact on my faith, and specifically its formation. They really helped me get grounded and started in my faith. But it wasn't until I got to college that I really began to grow as a man of Christ, as a disciple of Christ, because that's where I got discipled. And that's where things began to change. So here's a picture of us. We went to Beaumont, Texas a couple of years ago. We did disaster relief after Hurricane Harvey. You can see John Allen here. He's on the phone, which is just funny. I think he was trying to get us a ride, and that's why he was on the phone. And then you can see a lot of other members of our church in the meeting with that, with Jufro. And then this is the homeowner we partnered with. It was a really awesome trip, a really amazing experience. And I'm going to be sharing a story about one of the girls in this picture. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Eastern now. So Eastern Michigan University has over 21,000 students, all of whom need to experience the good news of Jesus Christ. We have a very unchurched community at Eastern, a very diverse community, including over 1,000 international students, which is really awesome. Creates a lot of unique opportunities at our school. Eastern's really bolstering their international program right now as well, which is cool. And so it's growing and growing. And we actually have a staff member on our team who's from Bosnia. His name is Aldine. He's a really awesome guy. He was originally Muslim, got saved in Bosnia, and then came back to the U.S., got a degree, and he's now on our staff team. He does a lot of our international outreach, which is really cool. We have a good guy in our church. His name is Harry. That's his American name. Nobody knows how to say his Chinese name, where he's from. He one day just showed up at our church. We don't quite know why. I think he said that he felt like he needed to be there. He walked in our doors and we're like, "Hey man, how's it going?" And got to know him, asked him some questions, and Aldine specifically spent a lot of time with him working through a very difficult language barrier to share the gospel. And Harry came on our spring break trip this past year, and he got baptized in the ocean, which is super awesome. And so a lot of unique opportunities at Eastern with internationals. But like I said, there's a very unchurched community at Eastern. And then past that, there are statistics that show us that 2/3 of all students who were involved in church in their youth will stop attending in college. That is a really sad statistic. It's a statistic which we seek to change. And so there are a lot of things going against college students when it comes to pursuing their faith. And so there's a lot of other needs as well for college students. As many of you can imagine, a lot of students are finding the fulfillment in things that aren't eternal, whether it's sex and drugs and partying, or sometimes in good things. They're finding their fulfillment in their major, in their future spouse, in their future career. And those are great things, of course, but if that's where they're finding their ultimate fulfillment, we know that those things will let them down, that those aren't eternal. A lot of them are struggling with loneliness. I mentioned loneliness is a big part of my story with all the moving and all the other things. It can be really easy at Eastern to feel like you're just one among thousands. Like nobody really knows you. And getting plugged into a community is so important. So we try to show them that they have a community that loves them. More importantly, they have a God who cares about them. And then a lot of them struggle with a lack of purpose or a lack of meaning. Eastern's a cheap school. Students don't know what they want to study, let alone who they are as a person. They're trying to figure out all these different things, and so we try to show them that regardless of their major, their career, their spouse, or whatever else in their life, that their life does have purpose and meaning because God says so. Because that's what the Bible teaches us. So I'm going to tell you guys about my friend Emily. She's over here. She's got a duck in her arms. She's a very interesting person. She is a very confident and strong woman, and she just picked up this duck randomly off the sidewalk to post for this picture. She's pretty interesting. I met her at the very beginning of my junior year playing at college, playing volleyball, sand volleyball. I love sand volleyball. I love sports in general, and I got to play a lot of it. And I met her one day, just out playing. She wanted to join, and I said, "Hey, come play on my team." And asked her some questions, got to know her. And at one point I asked her if she had any faith or religious background, and she said no, and that she had absolutely no interest in anything like that. And she just shut it down hard. It's like, okay, that's all right. I won't push it. I won't push onto that. It's clearly touched a nerve. And, at the end of the volleyball, my friends and I wanted to go watch a movie at our apartment. Like I said, I live right next to campus, and so very close. And so we wanted to watch a movie. We invited her to join. We were the first friends that she made at Eastern. And a couple weeks go by, she keeps hanging out with her friends and I. And I was like, "Hey, you already hang out with a lot of my church friends. You want to come to home group?" And home group is our Bible study, our community time. And she was very hesitant. She didn't want anything to do with church, like a lot of college students. But I convinced her. I said, relax, you'll meet new people, you'll make new friends, and if you don't like it, you don't have to go back, which is what my mom told me about it. And clearly it works. So she came, she got plugged in, and she made a bunch of friends, which was awesome. She kept coming back. And after a few more weeks, I had an assignment for an art class. I had to go out to an art exhibit in Detroit. And I didn't want to go by myself, so I invited people from my home group, including Emily. So several of us went out, and on the way home we were talking, and I had the opportunity to share the gospel with her. And she accepted Jesus into her life that day. One of the best experiences of my life, especially in college. Truly awesome to be a part of that. But I will mention her a little bit more here in just a second. And so, for students like Emily, I believe that the gospel is the only source of hope. I believe that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and that nobody goes to the Father except through him. And that contrary to popular belief, including my old beliefs, we cannot earn our way to heaven. We cannot be good enough to get to heaven. It is only through the sacrifice of the blood of Jesus Christ that we can be redeemed. It is only through his resurrection that we can experience new life with the Father. And so I'm very passionate about sharing that with people, like I did with Emily. And so I want to share that with as many college students as possible. And so I believe that campus churches reach tomorrow's leaders. We get to pour into these students for 2 to 4 or however many years they're with us, and then after that they go out into the world, to different cities, different states, different countries sometimes, and wherever they go, we try to raise them up to make disciples and to be a light wherever they go. We like to continue the Great Commission, as Adam said, to make disciples who make disciples, to multiply. And so here we have a picture. This is me. This is Sarah, my now girlfriend over there. And 2 of the people we were discipling at the time, Nicole and Dante. I got lunch with Dante the other day. It was super awesome to catch up with him. And so, but we got to take them to Cross Conference, which is an international missions conference, fully for 20-somethings and college students, and fully focused on reaching unreached people groups, populations that have less than 2% Christians. And so, really awesome experience, really cool to see them grow and see the need around the world. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about our partners as a church, so you understand a little bit more about who we are, but also about the organizations that we work with. And so, we as a church are part of the Collegiate Church Network. The Collegiate Church Network is just a college church planting network that's focused on the Great Commission. They have tens of schools around the country, including, I think, 6 now in Michigan, which is really exciting. And Eastern just became an autonomous church, which is super awesome. So we were a church plant in the making, and we just this past summer became a fully autonomous church, which is really awesome. And so here you can see a little bit of a roadmap of the Collegiate Church Network. And so you can see kind of our 5 churches up here in Michigan, or 6 now, and then there are about 7 more in Ohio, and then there's 10 more around the rest of the country as well. And we have some other churches that are associated with our organization that aren't on this map. And then here's a picture of the pins and a little bit of a quick timeline. Some of you guys have heard this when Kevin Rogan came and spoke here. But we have back in the 70s to the 80s, we have U of M, Texas A&M, Bowling Green, and Ball State all started. And those 4 churches helped to plant tens and tens of others, which is awesome. U of M itself has helped to start ministries at Eastern Michigan University, Wayne State, Western Michigan University, and several in Ohio, which has been super awesome. So this church and this church network exists to plant more churches and to reach further and farther to reach people. And so this upcoming week, actually, we have our annual collegiate conference, which is where all of the staff of all the collegiate churches get together, which is really exciting. We're taking Hannah, Josh, and Sarah, and some other people that are interested in going on staff, including the rest of our staff. And at the conference, we will be officially recognized as an autonomous church. We'll get our flag. You can kind of see we're over here in a green triangle. We'll be a full flag. We'll be fully indoctrinated in the church. So we're excited for that. And then our other partner is Relang. And so Relang is our missions agency. They handle all of the giving, the finances, the taxes, benefits, insurance, all the business side of things, so that missionaries like us can focus 100% on the work that we're trying to do. They're a really awesome organization. They are a registered nonprofit with the government. They're part of the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability. They're a really reputable organization. They've been around for 30 years, and they actually got their start with Crew that helped them get going. And so Reliant has over 700 missionaries now in over 20 different countries. They don't just partner with college ministries, they do, like I said, international missions. They do some other nonprofit work, and so they just help raise and train support-based missionaries like myself and the other staff at Eastman. They're a really awesome organization. When I was at training, I actually got to meet almost all of their staff personally, to get to know them, to hear their testimonies and their heart for missions. And so it wasn't just some off in the distance company that's handling my money. It's a group of really amazing people, and I got to see that. I got trained alongside of missionaries going to Japan and China, the Middle East, and Central and South America, actually, which is really awesome. And I myself have a desire to serve in some capacity in international missions. And if I stay with Reliant, there's a chance that I could do that, which is really exciting. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of potential with them. And so all the money that I raise for my support goes to Reliant. They have an account in my name. They handle those things, and then they pay me through that account. So I'm officially employed by Reliant, but I work with New Life Ypsilanti in that they make my job description. I answer directly to their pastors and staff, and there's kind of that partnership there, that relationship that we have with Reliant. And so, yeah. So when it comes to reaching the students of Eastern Michigan University and the people of Ypsilanti, we have a few ways that we do that. As any church, almost all churches, I guess, not all of them, but we have our Sunday services. I mentioned that earlier. We have them right on campus, and we have free dinners afterwards, which are really awesome. It's a great time for community, really good to connect with the students and help them get plugged in further in the church. Then we also have our home groups and our small groups, which is our Bible studies and our community time, which is really great. We have 5 home groups this year, and Hannah's a leader. Sarah and I led a group last year, and she's really awesome to be a part of those. I think that's where a lot of our greatest growth happens, is in those small groups of people. We really get to challenge one another and share with one another and go through scripture together. Then we have a lot of one-on-one discipleship, and so I mentioned this a number of times, but I keep mentioning it. Discipleship is really what we're passionate about. We seek to make disciples who make disciples, to be a reproducing church, and to multiply in that way. And then I've been able to be a part of all of these things, which is really awesome. But past these things, we have probably our biggest way of reaching students on campus is through outreach. Students in colleges especially usually want very little to do with college, very little to do with church. They're not interested in church, and so we could never have enough programs or events or things to really get students to come into our church and to stay there. And so a lot of what we have to do is meet them where they're at. We're in their dorms, we're in the student center, we're at the gym. In my case, the volleyball court, meeting students where they're at, developing relationships with the intention of sharing the gospel. And that's really where we see a lot of lives changed and a lot of people getting involved. I think through swing dancing and volleyball, which are 2 of my biggest hobbies, I have shared the gospel with more people and brought more people to church than anywhere else in my life. It's through relationship building, it's through being with people that you truly get to see lives changed, in my opinion. So it's been really awesome to be part of that. So my role in the church is going to be a lot of those things. Most of our entry-level staff, we do home groups, small groups, and discipleship, and then outreach. And so I myself will be going out on campus to do evangelism, reaching out to students. I'll be helping to lead a home group of people, somewhere between like 5, 20 people. Can really range depending on the group. And then within that, a small group of guys to work with them one-on-one a lot of times, discipleship as well. And then I kind of have 2 more unique areas that I want to work in. So I have a huge passion for community service. I kind of blame Dexter for that. In the midst of going to SOS so many times, going down to Belize, Habitat for Humanity, and all the other things that you guys do, I love that. I love being a part of that, and I see so many needs around this community, and especially Eastern, that I want to help fill. And so I'm passionate about community services. So I'll be helping our church to develop partnerships with local organizations to really start reaching out in the community. We've been a very, very small church. Actually, not even a full church, a church plant up until quite recently, and so we haven't had the time and the resources to really reach out. And so I want to help with that. And then I'm a tech guy. I graduated with a degree in simulation, animation, and gaming with computer science. And so I'm very tech savvy. And so I want to help our church when it comes to its web development, updating its website with the sound, lights, and slides. I still thankfully remember how to do all the slides and sound here, so I can run this presentation a little bit easier. And I really want to serve our church in helping it move forward with the most modern and available resources to serve and to reach people. So this is one of my favorite pictures. So we're doing Operation Christmas Child. We at church, at New Life Church, have been doing this for years. I actually have the box down here, and I know you guys are doing that as a church right now. It's the season, and so right here in the middle, in the front, you can see Emily, whom I got to share the gospel with. This is from last year. It's over a year after she accepted Jesus into her life, and this is a kind of a couple of our home groups together. We get together every year. We do Operation Christmas Child as a big group, and so it's kind of a good summary, I guess, of all the things that I love about our church. So I love our community. I love how close we are as brothers and sisters in Christ. I love our home groups and the time that we have in that community. I love service, which I mentioned. Just the opportunity as college students. We're all broke, if we're being honest. Like almost everyone at Eastern is very, very broke, or very in debt, either way, which is, college. But the opportunity to serve and to go out and buy gifts, stuff shoeboxes full and send them overseas, know that that's going to serve people, and that's going to help reach lives with the gospel. And I love that. I think that's really awesome. And so I'm very passionate about the church. And so what motivates me in ministry is seeing the way that the church and the people have impacted my life, and the way that it continues to impact the life around us. And so my freshman year, I mentioned that I got discipled by a guy named Michael Neff. This is him right here. He's the mostly bald one. He's balding, very young for his age. But he ended up baptizing me. That's the far left picture. The middle picture is my friend Jake Hausch. I got to disciple him my sophomore year and baptize him. And then the far right is Emily, whom I got to share the gospel with, and had the blessing and opportunity to baptize her. And she got plugged into a big group of women, into home groups and everything, like I said. She actually got discipled by my friend Hannah this past year. It was super awesome to watch her grow and seek after the Lord, and seeing our community really come alongside her. She was such a young believer, she'd never experienced the church before. So I am not able to do this ministry work alone. I'm support-based, and then past that, I also just need a lot of help in general, because ministering to college students can be a lot of work and can be exhausting. And so I'm relying upon God to give me patience and energy, strength, and I'm relying upon others to help me care for me as I'm pouring myself out for these college students. And so there are a number of ways that people can partner with Reliant and I. Those are through prayer, through time and resources, through connections, and then through finances. So I'm going to kind of talk about these in reverse order, and I'm going to give a brief overview of these things. So when it comes to finances, I'm raising my own support, and so I have to raise 100% of the ongoing resources that I need for the work with students at Eastern. I am raising my salary, my insurance, my benefits, and my ministry expenses to do this work, which is $72,000 a year, which is $6,000 a month in ongoing support, which is a lot. And like I said, that pays for everything that I need to live off of. And so I am relying upon God to provide monthly ministry team members who will make monthly investments in mission and in me. And then I need connections. So statistical analysis shows that someone in my position raising full-time support will have to contact, on average, 900 different people. I'm a pretty outgoing guy. I know a lot of people. I'm very blessed to know a lot of the people here at this church, but I don't know nearly enough to reach 900. And so getting connected with people is extremely important in order for me to continue support raising. And every time I get to connect with someone, it's really awesome, because I get to share my testimony. I share the gospel every time, and I get to hear about people where people are, and encourage them with what the Lord is doing around the world and around the country at Easter. And the time, so our church just a lot of different things. We have our Sunday dinners every week, and we have volunteers that come in and make us food and serve college students. And it's a great way for people to come out, to see who they're supporting, to see the Sunday services, to meet the students that we're impacting. And so we have a great need for volunteers for that, among many other things. Time and resources is kind of a broad category for a reason. And then the last one is prayer. I send out a monthly prayer letter with updates on the ministry, updates on my life, and with specific prayer requests for the ministry. I sent out my most recent one last Monday, actually. And so those four of time, resources, prayer, finances, and connections are really the huge ways that you guys can help me as I'm raising support. And the quicker I raise support, the quicker I can go into ministry and actually work with the students. Right now I'm doing full-time support raising, and then past that, you guys can really help bless the church. And I know you guys help bless a lot of places, a lot of churches, a lot of people. I'm so grateful for that. So I think that's just about everything I had to share. I want to thank you guys so much for letting me come out, tell you guys what about the Lord is doing at Easter. I would love it if you guys have any questions to talk to me afterwards. So yeah, thank you guys so much.